Do you find yourself hitting a wall by 4 in the afternoon, even though you did not do anything particularly demanding that day? Maybe you had lunch with a friend, ran a quick errand, took a phone call or two, and yet by the time evening rolls around, your brain feels completely drained and slow, like a computer with too many programs running at once. Most people already think they know why. They blame a bad night of sleep, getting older, or maybe their diet. So they try going to bed earlier, cutting out caffeine, taking supplements, but that foggy and drained feeling just keeps showing up anyway. Here is something that does not get talked about nearly enough. A clinic called South Lake Hearing noticed that many of their patients were coming in reporting brain fog as their main complaint. Things like trouble concentrating, mental exhaustion, and struggling to retain what was said in conversations. And what they found again and again was that once their hearing clarity was addressed, the fog lifted completely, because it was never really brain fog to begin with. It was their ears quietly overworking their brain every single day without anyone realizing it. So if your brain feels foggy in ways that sleep just does not fix, stay with me, because this might genuinely change how you understand what has been going on. When sound comes in clearly, your brain receives the full picture, processes the words, understands the meaning, and moves on without much effort. But when sound comes in muffled or incomplete, your brain shifts into problem-solving mode, pulling from context clues, predicting what word probably fits, and piecing together whatever fragments came through into something that makes sense. Think of it like a crossword puzzle. Your brain is constantly solving in the background. Every muffled sentence, every word where the consonants blur together is another blank your brain has to fill in on its own. And unlike an actual crossword puzzle you choose to sit down with, this one never stops. It runs during every conversation, every TV show, and every phone call all day long without a break. That constant background effort burns through your mental energy much faster than most people expect. And by 4 or 5 in the afternoon, your brain is genuinely exhausted. Not because anything is wrong with your memory or cognition, but because it has been running at full capacity all day just to keep up with basic conversation. That is what listening fatigue actually is. And it is far more common than most people realize. Here is the part that tends to surprise people the most. A lot of people dealing with early clarity issues become quite good lip readers without ever consciously deciding to learn. They start watching faces more carefully during conversations, leaning in a little closer, paying close attention to someone's mouth and expressions, and because they get reasonably good at it over time, they often do not even notice they are doing it. But lip reading, even at a basic level, is genuinely demanding mental work. You are simultaneously catching sound fragments, visually decoding lip movements, filtering out background noise, and holding the thread of the conversation together all at once, which is a surprisingly heavy load to carry through something as simple as lunch with a friend. It also explains why a 20-minute phone call can leave you feeling like you need to lie down afterward. On a call, you cannot see the person's face at all. So your brain has lost one of its main compensating tools and is spending far more mental energy than the length of that call should ever require. Here are 5 signs to help you figure out whether what you are experiencing is listening fatigue rather than general brain fog. The first is about timing. Do you feel fairly clear-headed in the morning but noticeably foggy by dinner time? General brain fog tends to stay consistent throughout the day, but listening fatigue builds gradually as your brain accumulates hours of extra decoding work. If your mental energy tracks closely with how much conversation you had during the day, that pattern is worth paying attention to. The second sign is face dependency. Do you find it harder to follow a conversation when you cannot see the person's face? whether that is a phone call, someone talking from another room, or TV dialogue. If seeing someone's face makes a noticeable difference in how well you follow along, your brain has likely been relying on visual cues to fill in sounds it is not fully catching on its own. The third sign is sensitivity to background noise. Does a running fan, a dishwasher, or music from another room make you feel irritable or mentally overwhelmed in a way that feels bigger than the noise itself? When your brain is already working hard to separate speech from noise, even moderate background sounds can push it past its comfortable limit pretty quickly. The fourth sign is zoning out during group conversations, and not because you are uninterested. Tracking multiple voices while filtering out background noise is simply too much for an overworked brain to sustain, so quietly checking out starts to feel like the only reasonable option. And the fifth sign is the finger rub test. Hold your thumb and index finger about 6 inches from your ear and rub them gently together. You should hear a soft, crisp little sizzle. If that sound is very faint or barely noticeable, your ears may not be picking up those higher frequency sounds clearly, which means your brain has been filling in those gaps on its own all day. When that keeps happening, your brain doesn't get a break. It just keeps working in the background trying to make sense of incomplete information. So if you have spent months blaming sleep or age or stress for that foggy drain feeling, and nothing you have tried has actually stuck, here is something simple you can do at home today. Ask someone to stand about 6 feet away, have them turn slightly, and whisper a short sentence. It is not a clinical test, but if you can hear that something was said and still cannot make out the words, that gives you a direction worth paying attention to because it means this might be a clarity gap rather than brain fog. And once you have that direction, you can take a step that actually addresses the right thing. Hear Direct Club's Nova was built for real-life clarity without the clinic visits or the price tag most people expect. The link is in the description, and if you use YT10 at checkout, you get 10% off. And for more practical breakdowns like this, subscribe to the channel.